Lake Effect brings you conversations about what's happening in Milwaukee and the people, places, and organizations that shape the community. This is Lake Effect Spotlight from WUWM, Milwaukee's NPR.
Songwriter Hillary Reynolds splits her time between her hometown of Appleton, Wisconsin, and Los Angeles. Her songs have been recorded by Little Big Town and Dani and can be heard on Yellowstone and Loudermilk. However, over the past 5 years, Reynolds has been working on her debut album, Changing Seasons, which is full of songs that felt too personal to write for other musicians. They're meant to be a soothing companion to our morning routines and help ease us into a new day. Reynolds joins me in the Lake Effect Performance Studio, and we'll start with listening to her song, Everything You Fear.
You are bold and you are brave. So why are you hiding in your shade? Even when demons haunt your past, you've got love in your bones. So don't believe everything you fear. My love can hold you. I'm here. The river may weep and the tide may rise, but that's how you know that you're alive. I love the cracks in your tender voice, and I've always loved your sadness. So don't believe everything you fear. My love can hold you. I'm here. I'm here. It gets hard before it gets easier. Just breathe through the pain, and you will smile again. Just close your eyes and clear your head, and let our song become your friend. Even when your mind is fighting back, and I'm not there to hold you. Don't believe everything you fear, 'cause my love I told you. Don't believe everything you fear, 'cause my love can hold you. And it's okay to shed a couple tears, 'cause my love will find you. I'm here.
Hillary Reynolds, welcome to Lake Effect. Thank you for that song. That was lovely.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So with this being your first time on our program, I just kind of want to introduce you to the listeners in case they're not familiar. And you are from Appleton,
I
here
am.
in Wisconsin, and currently live in LA as a songwriter. But to start, can you share more about your local roots and your background? What got you inspired to get into music?
Well, I was born in Appleton in a very musical family. And my dad, my aunt, my other uncle, two of my uncles, and my dentist all have a band together called Baba Ganoush, and we call them Baba. They still play around the area. But I grew up listening to them in bars and barn dances.
The kid with a Shirley Temple at the bar, right?
Yeah. And for the longest time, I really thought that Down by the River, Heart of Gold, like all of my favorite Neil Young songs were written by them. And I was kind of like devastated when I discovered in high school. I was like, wait a second. They didn't write these masterpieces. But we had a great time growing up. And I think that it was just sort of a part of family gatherings. I remember nights there, being out on frozen lakes in the chain of lakes in Wapaka where my grandparents retired. And we'd have a fire going on the lake because the ice was thick enough. And then, somebody would bring a guitar out inevitably. And that's just kind of how it is and was. So
born to play.
Loved it.
Yeah. Remind me, you split your time now between Wisconsin and LA?
I do now.
And what went into the decision to move to LA? Do you feel like you had to move away in order to like truly be a songwriter and be able to make a living in the industry, thrive? Was it hard to do that here?
I think that Wisconsin, music-wise, was a very different place when I was growing up. And I think that really the limitations were like, playing bar gigs. And I think I just wanted to know, I had a curiosity about like what else is out there. And so when I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston, I just took the scholarship and ran with it and just sort of immersed myself in a totally different state and on a different coast. And then the move to LA sort of came when I realized that the limitations of being a musician in Boston were more like cover band stuff and wedding bands, and people make awesome living doing that. But I really fell in love with songwriting. And so when it came to picking a city, it was like, you either go to Nashville or you go to New York or you go to LA. And my now husband, but partner at the time, he really didn't want to go to Nashville. And I really didn't like New York. And so we just sort of jumped into LA, eyes wide open, just seeing what it would be like. And we fell in love with it. And I love it out there. I really do. Which I know is hard for some Wisconsinites to hear, but it is really a wonderful place.
Right. And well, we did know you do spend your time here and you're here with us today. So not all Wisconsin points are lost by any means.
Thank you.
And years between this, but jumping ahead to now with your latest album, Changing Seasons. Having worked on this album for more than 5 years, I'm curious, can you share your mindset of when you were first getting into it? What you wanted this body of work to be, to reflect?
Yeah, that's a really thoughtful question. When I first was getting into this album, I think what struck me most was that I had spent a couple years just solely writing for other people and other artists and other projects and Lifetime movies and just trying to make a living out in LA, getting grounded, teaching lessons and all that stuff. And I think there were just a lot of precious songs that I had written that over the course of many years that I knew I wanted to do something with, but I didn't want to give them away. There were a couple on this album where in the writings of it, like the voice memo that I have on my phone is me crying through it. And that's when I know it's my song, first and foremost.
That was one of my questions, like, how do you know what's for you and what's for others?
It's like pathetic, it's I should really delete them. But so my mentality was capture this time. And I kind of didn't know. I recorded, I think, did basics for 28 or 30 songs and started kind of whittling away at maybe themes or what did I want the sonic experience to be? Because there were some more, I would say, eclectic rock expressions, but I was like, I'm just not feeling that. And I kind of, over the course of the years, just whittled it down to 8 and decided to take a stance and just say, I'm doing a morning record. I'm doing an album that lowers my blood pressure. And I'm not going to take the commercial stance that I became really familiar with in the process of writing in sessions with a producer and maybe 2 other writers. I just didn't care about that with this album.
Well, I think it in turn puts us into a nice state. lowers our blood pressure. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, and I think I became a mom through it, and I didn't realize how much I needed that kind of music also. So it was kind of a gift from my past self in that way. Just now when I play certain songs or if something comes on, my son is if he's having a tantrum, he'll just kind of look, and that's a beautiful thing, and I'm like, oh, you probably recognize that from the womb, boy.
It's ingrained. Yeah. Well, and obviously there's so much that parents go through. And for you working on this, being pregnant and then postpartum especially, if you don't mind, do you want to talk about how that postpartum period really affected you and your music and how you worked through this album?
Well, I gave myself permission to not touch anything goal-oriented around music for 9 months. And I struggled to honor that because I was getting the itch. But then I realized I didn't really have the fortitude or the energy to bring myself to the table quite yet. But I think I struggled a lot just emotionally with not having my mom around and having our child in California when our families were in Wisconsin. I struggled with kind of doing it on my own. It was a bit lonely, but we also have a great community of friends in LA that I wouldn't trade for the world. And I think there were just some moments where I still was like, oh, I really wish I had my mom to help me figure out this breastfeeding latch stuff and why am I leaking and why am I still bleeding? And like the healing is kind of traumatic in its own way. But I would say music just took a back seat and the album took a back seat. And it wasn't until he was about 1 year, 1 or maybe 1.5, where I really came back to it and finished it. But I did also gain a clarity around exactly what I wanted. And that, I think, is when I learned that good things do take time.
Like you said, kind of like gifting yourself this album, like your future self.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear more of it.
Sure.
So would you mind introducing the next song and anything you want to share about it before we hear it?
Oh, yeah. So this song is called Can't Turn Off My Mind. And I wrote it about, I would say, insomnia and daydreaming and the ruminating things that happen and, seeds of thoughts that just sort of take place between 3 and 5 a.m. And it was a song I had written before I became a mother. And I had co-written it with my very good friend, Madison Malone, who's also a Wisconsinite from Portage, Wisconsin. But we sat down and she helped me finish it. And since then, we've both become mothers. So I feel like this song has just kind of taken on a whole new meaning.
Excellent. Well, you're listening to Lake Effect. I'm Audrey Nowakowski with Hillary Reynolds, and we're about to hear Can't Turn Off My Mind from her latest album, Changing Seasons.
Sun's coming up to shine, you're still sleeping. I've been up all night for no reason, and I can't turn off my mind. Lately I've been lost in contradictions, running wild in my imagination. And I can't turn off my mind. A table set for two, your mouth is moving, but I'm not listening to what you're saying. Oh, honey, I'm on the moon tonight. And I turn off my mind. Overanalyzing everything you say. My indecision follows every move I make. But I'm not here, I'm not here. Caught in silence as I think about the day. My constant daydreams take me somewhere far away. But I'm not here, I'm not here. I'm not here, I'm not here. Ooh. Mind is on and far away, somewhere deep in outer space, and I can't turn off my mind.
That was Hillary Reynolds playing Can't Turn Off My Mind. Thank you for that. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
So I'd like to get into a little more about the instrumentation of the album. I know listeners
cool.
are hearing the acoustic version today,
Yes.
which is also lovely. But can you share more about your arrangements with these songs, and given the wide span of time and attention and kind of the different periods you went through to produce this album?
Sure. Oh, that's a fun one to answer. So on this album, it features people playing instruments, and I feel like that maybe
Real
needs
people.
to be said
Yeah.
these days. Unfortunately, it's a human-made album with people playing together live, and features a lot of my favorite tonalities. And so a lot of acoustic guitars, a lot of doubles, acoustic guitars, and mandolin and octave mandolin, which I think octave mandolin is just such a beautiful little secret. We did a lot of different setups of drums, percussion, auxiliary percussion. And on Can't Turn Off My Mind in particular, that one features upright bass. My producer, Benjamin Koff, is just a beautiful upright bass player, but also I love his time, I love his feel. And he played a lot of the acoustic guitar tracks as well. So I think that's why it just feels so good. It's because of him. Like he brought it into such a grounded place. The electric guitar work and strings that are used, I usually, in previous iterations of a band, I've worked really closely with a cellist, and he played on this album, but it was the first time I used it more as a texture as opposed to a part. And that was just a different feeling, because what I really looked at in terms of the sonic scape of this, I was trying to imagine, like, if Jane Austen and Beatrix Potter made an album, like, how could it fit those really beautiful dewy colors and morning, magic? And so I think those were the main ways to achieve that.
Are mornings your most creative time, or do you feel like a certain affinity to them?
I think, okay, so I'm thinking about 3 distinct chapters, because before having my son, I was more of a night owl person. But I'm currently pregnant with my second, and I just escaped the black hole of the first trimester, which was just a great time to release a record, a great time to play shows. Let me tell you, the nausea and the fatigue. Wow, I was absolutely superwoman. But I would say that now my most productive hours are in the morning, and when I hit 4 o'clock, I'm a potato. I can't be bothered to do anything except for the nighttime routine with Augie, my son, and then just go to bed myself. So
I feel you on that.
yeah.
Well, and speaking of little ones, you also have an author to add to your bio. You co-wrote a children's book called Send My Love. Can you share a bit more about the book and what inspired you to venture down this creative outlet outside of music?
Well, I didn't set on creating a children's book. I really didn't. It was a rainy day along the Oconto River in Stiles, Wisconsin, where my husband's parents, they have a cabin there. And it's been a point of refuge for me for as long as I can remember, but especially during the pandemic. And it was a really rainy day, and I had just what I think a lot of writers can attest to having, which is just a random download of words. And usually when that happens, I'm like, oh, it's a song, cool. But then I was looking at it, and I was like, this doesn't feel like a song. Maybe it's a poem. Did I just write a poem? But then I was texting a good friend of mine who's also from Wisconsin, Catherine, the co-author, and I said, I think I've written a poem, and I sent her the words. And later that night, I was like, actually, no, I think this is a children's book. And her and I just quickly finished the manuscript within a few months. And then she had this idea of connecting with a Wisconsin artist and illustrator, Hannah Ribbons, and we just did some Zoom meetings. She presented some sketches, and the rest is history. We just sort of were like, okay, this is our passion project. This is something that's going to get us through these times. And the spring of this last year was when it was finally complete. And our publishers, Orange Hat Publishing, which is it's a Wisconsin-based publisher. So we're just
hometown book.
We're just going to make it a Wisconsin book.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
What do you think the differences will be touring with a children's book versus for music?
I have no idea. Like, honestly, send help. No, I think I've never really exclusively performed for children. So that'll just be, I think I'm going to be reading a lot more and kind of using those inputs to sort of decide how long a song should be and how interactive they feel that day. It's going to be a lot of reading the room, but I've already been doing that for a really long time. So,
exactly.
But they're probably going to be my toughest critics because
children are.
They're like, I like this, I don't like this. And
there's nothing you can do to
I love that.
Otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they'll tell me if it's good or not. Yeah.
Exactly.
Within 5 seconds.
Yeah. Well, I want to first off thank you so much for spending some time here with me today and sharing some music. Can you take us out with one more? What are you going to play?
Yes. This is a song called No One Knows I'm Here. And I think of it as a song that I love to play when I'm just alone in the woods by myself and feeling just free and like my 5-year-old self. So it feels appropriate to share at the heels of talking about a children's book.
Excellent.
It's only the wind on my back. The sun is running through the trees. And I feel like a child again, just singing for the waterfall in me. And no one knows I'm here. No one knows I'm here.
Hillary Reynolds is a singer-songwriter from Appleton, and her debut album out now is called Changing Seasons. She's also the co-author of a children's book, Send My Love. Our studio session was engineered by WUWM's Jason Reevey, and you can hear all 3 acoustic tracks Reynolds performed at WUWM.com.
But I can't leave it all behind whenever all the voices disappear.
You can find more interviews like this one by visiting WUWM.com/Lake Effect. And while you're there, subscribe to the Lake Effect Spotlight podcast.
It's rare to find a podcast that can actually change your life. But when the show's called Life Kit, that's kind of the whole point. I'm Marielle Segarra. 3 times a week on the Life Kit podcast, we guide you through a topic we could all use help with, From personal development to healthy living to managing your dinero, with takeaways so you can start living what you learn right away. Escucha el Life Kit podcast from NPR.